Yes, so I'm an actress, I'm a content creator, I'm a producer, and I'm a creative digital entrepreneur. But I'm mostly known for Dr. Muvhango many years ago. I am a very family-orientated woman. I'm a proud African queen, and I'm a huge advocate for Black female empowerment and just reinstilling in ourselves as African women that we are phenomenal warriors and we need to work together rather than work apart, you know? So you can only imagine that when I fell pregnant for the second time, when my first child was only 7 months old, that I was quite taken aback when my fellow African queens and kings were busy like, ha, already, oh, so soon, or whatever. And that led me to just be like, okay, how do I address this issue? Because at the time, I was still Dr. Ntabileng, so I'm part of this show, and there's a way that you need to behave, there's a way that you need to maintain your brand that doesn't embarrass your employees. But at the same time, I was like, whoa, okay, and this is affecting me negatively. But most importantly, what are we saying? Are we saying that we can't build families? Are we saying there's something wrong with bringing life into the world? So I decided to go onto my Instagram and is it not my vagina? You know, did I loan it from you? Did I ask to borrow it? Did I ask for a petition? No, I didn't. And it went viral. And the whole country was like, hey, bo, Dr. Ntabileng, you okay? But at the same time, it highlighted that issue to be like, why are we criticizing women for the choices that they make with their own bodies? Whether I'm married or not, whether I'm, well, okay, it's less beneficial to raise a child alone. It can be very difficult. I come from a single mother, so I know from personal experience. But if that's a choice a woman makes, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with life? What's wrong with expanding? What's wrong with doing as God willed us to do, you know? And it also, at the same time, in shocking people, it opened me up to this whole world of other amazing queens. You know, these melanin magic queens is how I put it, who are like, wait again, when I'm okay, thank you, you know, and they were just like, I'm sending you so much love, I'm sending you so much support, and we see you and we're happy for you. And it was at the same time the hardest pregnancy for me. Physically, I was in pain chronically. Spiritually, I was in turmoil. And I didn't understand why. And sometimes I'll be with Ahadi, my firstborn, and I'll just have these flashes of like the worst things happening to her. And I'd be like, what is going on? Maybe I'm stressed out. Maybe I am actually not ready for another child. Like, I don't know what's happening. But then every time we go to prenatal care, baby is growing. She's bigger than her sister was. Her heartbeat is strong. All of those amazing things, you know. So when she was born on the 16th of November, 2016, I believe. 2016, no, 2017, yes. It was the most amazing birth because I home birth. I don't like hospitals, I don't like medication and all of those things. I'm very homeopathic in my approach. And I literally said to her, 5 hours, 5 hours, you are out. I can how your sister was 17 hours of labor as you know. And that's exactly how it happened. I went into labor on the Wednesday, and then she stalled, and then I went to my midwife to do a checkup, and then she was like, no, walk around, you know, the complex or whatever, just to stimulate labor. And I had my music on, and I'm just talking to her, and in 5 pushes this person comes out, and they put her on my chest, and my first thought was, why is she not breathing? And I was just like, is she still, what's going on? And then the midwife is like, you know, draining her nose and her mouth, and she's like, no, she's fine. And then when I pushed out the placenta, I lost a lot of blood, you know. And the strangest thing happened after that. I saw myself step out of my own body and take 3 steps forward. And before I took the 4th step, I called myself back to my body. Like I shouted out my name, and then and then my temperature dropped and I started shaking, you know? And all of this was happening and I just didn't understand what was going on. And no, so fine, the baby, she checks everything. Okay, no, baby's fine. And my midwife leaves and I'm left with my child. And every time I tried to breastfeed her, the contractions in my uterus were so severe. It felt worse than the actual birth, you know? So all of these things are happening and I'm taking note, but I'm like, okay, maybe these are just second baby sort of symptoms, or, you know, maybe this is just, no, don't think too much about it. And then on day 7, I leave the house for a few hours to go and have a meeting. I come back and I take my child from my mother who was watching her, and she's cold. So you know, Hish, what's happening? Why is she so cold and whatever? And we're sitting in the room and I swear it's like, even now it's like a movie, because you see your child hyperventilate, and then you're like taking the temperature, and it's not a high temperature, so you're not thinking maybe a low temperature is not good. And then next thing I know, she's still in my arms. You know, I've done everything. I'm like skin to skin. I'm sitting by the heater. I'm thinking it's just the weather. She'll warm up. And then she goes still. And I go downstairs and I tell my mother, you know, she's not breathing. And my husband just came back from the shop with a Hadi, and we jump into the car, we go to the hospital, and it's like a movie. Like when you're rushing through the hospital doors, like, my baby's not breathing, someone help me. And they take her and they work on her, and unfortunately she didn't make it, you know. So when that happened, honestly, everything just stopped for me. Everything stopped making sense. My sense of self, my sense of identity, my sense of just God was challenged. And I spent the year with my husband traveling quite a lot, because it was difficult for me to be in that house. It was difficult for me to be, just even in this province, I needed to be near water. I needed to be near nature. I needed to be in spaces that just made me remember that God exists, that there is more to it than this darkness that I was feeling now. And it also then led me to answer my calling as a spiritual healer, as Muvhango. I don't know how to translate it better into English, but I stopped running away from that as well and started embracing it and reconnecting with my spirituality through that way. And then what happened with that is then I started the Melanin Magic sessions, because I thought to myself, all of these women who were supporting me throughout my pregnancy, who didn't know the anxiety that I was dealing with, who were my motivation to stay positive, the women who right now, I'm not going to tell that my child has passed on, but I'm going to keep making these videos. I'm going to keep bringing light into their lives. How do I connect with them? How do I meet them face to face? How do I sit down and be like, you know, this is the power of a black woman. Like when we reach out to one another and we connect, you are actually breathing life into somebody else. And I spent the year organizing these things out of my own pocket, because I was just like, I need to connect, I need to connect, I need to connect, I need to connect, you know. And it then led to the beginning of this year, where I was still in this state of anger, because I felt entitled to this child. I felt entitled to the dream that I had, where I was going to be this yummy mommy with 2 kids and this and this and this and this and this, and it was going to be perfect. And I got lost in that. So I had to push myself deeper into my spirituality. And when I started peeling away the layers of having lost this child, I started realizing that, but was I ready? Was I truly ready to make that great of a sacrifice? Are there things that I still need to do that are in line with my purpose as a healer, as a storyteller, as a content producer? What is it that I've been putting aside and using my children as an excuse for? Using my marriage as an excuse for? And then my house burned down. When I was sitting again, sinking back into this feeling of, I must put things on hold. You know, maybe one day I can, when the time is right, or when the money is. And just on that day, no smoke, no sound of fire. And I go upstairs to my room, I open the door, and this fire jumps out at me, and I scream for everybody to get out of the house. And then I'm sitting there going, what is going on? Watching this fire burn with my daughter's ashes in that room. And my first instinct was to feel agony, because I'm like, but that's the only piece I had of her. And then as I sat down with myself, I was like, but this is God saying, let go. You need to live. So it took me back to when I was pregnant with this young queen, and how I loved myself more. How I took the time to go do my hair and my nails and dress up, and how I just really allowed myself to enjoy life in the moment and not be so preoccupied with what tomorrow doesn't or does bring for me. But most importantly, it just reminded me that she gave me the confidence to show people who I was, which is why I'm looking at the camera and not over there. To connect with people, to say, you know, life is going to throw things at you. It's life. That's the point. You're not meant to look at what it throws at you. You're meant to really appreciate God's power in you to ensure that you overcome every single one of those obstacles. So I used to sit down and cry over being molested as a child, growing up without my father, being raped by my boyfriend, being in an abusive relationship, being bullied by women who I done nothing to. It's not my fault, I'm fabulous, honey. Okay. And then my daughter died and my family home burned down. And then I said, maybe, just maybe, me focusing on all the negative that has happened in my life is attracting more negativity into my life. Maybe if I look at how I've overcome, maybe if I look at how I am so gifted, maybe if I look at how God has shined his favor onto my life, that I will attract light. And that is the path that I'm walking right now. I'm walking a path that in this day and age is not encouraged, and it's not popularized, and it won't give you money, but it will give you peace. It will give you joy. It will connect you with phenomenal people who want the same thing as you. But one thing I can't do is sit in the darkness, because as much as I wanted my daughter, I still have her in a bigger and more powerful way than I ever would have. And even the burning of the home, what's so lucky though is that insurance paid out. So now we stay in a really nice place. Now it's like, it's proper, Shim. I'm like, okay, thank you, God, I see you. So maybe it's also God's way of saying, look, don't get comfortable, you know? Dare to dream, take a risk. I am God, for crying out loud. One of the things I like to do as well to reaffirm this for myself is go to the ocean and just sit and watch the waves. And I'm like, one thing that is constant is that these waves will keep coming. Either big or small or what, they will keep coming. That force that keeps those waves coming, that is the force within me. And I need to just understand that it's all a part of one whole majestic situation. So there's nothing wrong with me being positive. There's nothing wrong with me saying, I see this pain, I see this wound, I receive what it is teaching me. But I'm going to take those teachings and then I'm going to continue to dream. So that is, for me, the message to you. Don't let your pain define you. Just continue to dream and know that God is the one in charge. Thank you. Hi, my name is Mona and I have been through the most.